Right. All right. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? Um, all right. Shabbat shalom. You okay? All right. I hope we all doing well, and taking care of our health out there. Just want to give you all hope that you all staying prayed up, taking care of your families. Today we're going to get into this children's lesson real quick. And today's topic is, who is your neighbor? Who is your neighbor? Okay? But first we're going to, all right? Get situated here. Okay. All right, so we're going to do the 10 Commandments, all right, y'all? All right. So you shall have no other gods before me. You shall have no other gods before me. So how can we, what is considered another god? Money. Clothes. What else? What about you? What is considered another god? What is considered another god? Video games. See, pretty much whatever you put your effort into more than the Most High is considered another god, okay? All right, so yeah, all these things, money, video games, those type of things are considered another god if you put your effort into them more. There's nothing wrong with playing video games at times, but it's a time and place for everything, and most of our effort should go into serving the Most High. And how do we do that? Is how we carry ourselves on a day-to-day basis, okay? Let's see. You shall not make for yourself an idol. Now, I know that he got the video game here, but like I said, that will more go along the lines of you should have no other gods before me. But what can be considered making yourself an idol? Like a Buddha statue, right? Like the Buddha statue. So people praying and bowing down to a Buddha statue is definitely considered another god, okay? You should not misuse the name of Yahuwah your Elohim. You should not misuse the name of Yahuwah your Elohim. All right? So how can we misuse the Most High's name?
By not upholding it.
Okay, but what do you, I mean, when we talk about not upholding it, like upholding what?
Not upholding your promises.
That you make in his name, right? So if you make a vow in his name, you're not upholding, and you don't uphold it, right? You don't follow through, then that's considered the misuse of the Most High's name, okay? All right, that's a way to misuse the Most High's name. Of course, speaking against the Most High, that type of thing. But you definitely, if you make a vow in his name, you want to uphold it, all right? Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. How can we keep the Sabbath day holy? How can we keep the Sabbath day holy? Say that again. Going to class, right? Go ahead.
Watch VeggieTales.
We can watch VeggieTales. We can watch anything that pertains to dealing with the Bible, right? Like watching movies that deal with the Bible. We can watch animated cartoon movies that deal with the Bible. You know, like Joseph, you know, what is it called? Joseph, the King of Dreams? Yeah, that right there. Of course, little Isaac. You can watch, you can read your Bible, pray. You can also rest on the Sabbath, all right? Rest on the Sabbath. Those things you can do on the Sabbath, okay? Honor your father and your mother so that you may live long in the land Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you. How can we honor our father and mother? Okay. How can we honor our father and mother? Say that again. Absolutely. If they instruct you to get good grades, absolutely. Which usually they will. Absolutely. So pretty much doing what they tell you to do. You can honor that's one way you can honor your father and mother. How about this? Keeping them with a good name, you know what I mean? And let me explain what I mean. So say if you have a falling out with your mother and father, you know, because it's not always going to be, you know, things is not always going to be good between you and your mother and father, right? But that doesn't give you the right to go to your friends and slander and talk bad about your mother and father. How about that? All right? So you be angry, but make sure you go back and talk to your mother and father after you have calmed down, right? So you can bring some type of closure to that problem, all right? Instead of going and carrying that anger, and that anger leads you to talk bad about your mother and father, all right? You keep them with a good name. That's how you honor your mother and father, okay? Especially when they're righteous. We're not always going to be perfect, no, but righteousness is sometimes, even in this walk, we can definitely make mistakes. We can definitely mishandle something, all right? And, you know, we make mistakes. You know, it is what it is. We human beings, right? But that don't give us the right to, because we have a falling out with our parents, to go and give them a bad name, all right? That's dishonorable to your parents, okay? You shall not murder. You shall not murder. All right? You shall not murder. What is considered murder? What's murder?
Murder is you murdering something on purpose and you didn't do nothing for it.
Well, that person didn't do nothing to receive that, right? Right? Do you understand what murder is? Huh? Okay. And see, what's not murder is somebody try to rob you and you defend yourself and you kill that person. Now, yeah, unfortunately, somebody died, but that's not murder. That's not considered murder because you defended yourself. All right, they tried to rob you, which they was breaking commandments too, and unfortunately that happened because we want to preserve life as best as possible. But sometimes when things happen in a situation like that, somebody try to rob you and you defend yourself, somebody can die. And if they do, well, if that person that tried to rob you die, that's not considered murder, okay? So you shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery, all right? You shall not commit adultery. What is adultery for a man, Daquan?
Adultery for a man is if you divorce an old wife for a new wife for no reason.
Okay.
That committed adultery.
No. See, no. You had it right up until that part. See, what for a man, adultery would be if a man divorces his wife for no reason and goes and get another wife, right? That is adultery for a man, all right? Because she did not commit fornication, therefore he cannot give her a bill of divorcement. Right? She has to been did something in order for him to give her a bill of divorcement. Okay? But do you understand that? You understand? All right. So adultery for a woman would be her going to another man and committing adultery and having an affair, going to be with another man while she's married. That's adultery for a woman. Okay? You shall not steal. You shall not steal. You shall not steal. All right. So we see a woman here. Go get him. Oh, door closed. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. All right. Sorry about that. You shall not steal. You shall not steal. So here you have a woman that is in a store and she's stuffing snacks into her purse. Does not necessarily give the backstory on this person. But let's say if she was poor, is it okay? It's not okay for her to steal, right? Right. So it doesn't matter. The law says, "Thou shalt not steal." Thou shalt not steal. It doesn't matter if you rich or you poor. Okay. There's rich people that steal too, different ways. It'll be more complicated than this. All right. There's rich people that steal too to stay on top. All right. Regardless of your financial status, you shall not steal. Okay? You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. All right, so you have two men here. They was playing baseball. One hit a ball through the window and he blamed his friend. Okay, now this is an honest mistake. So some people, because they fear the consequences, they fear what can happen to them once they tell the truth, they decide not to tell the truth. But it's always good to tell the truth, even in a situation like this. All right, yes, it's bad. It'll cost some money to replace that window, but you are lying on your neighbor, and something bad can really happen. Versus if you go and tell the truth, you never know what can happen. So the neighbor may not get so upset, but if you lie on your neighbor, say if the neighbor does get that upset, if you lie on your neighbor and your neighbor decide to put his hands on your friend, then you just caused your friend who did not actually commit this act to get beat up. You know what I'm saying? Like, to get some hands put on them. So we want to make sure that we tell the truth. Now, again, usually people lie and do things against the Most High because of fear sometimes. So something like this, in a situation like this, they'll lie because they fear the consequences. But we always must tell the truth, regardless of the consequences. All right? Because it's pleasing to the Most High, especially when we're talking about bearing this law, this particular commandment here, bearing false witness. Okay? We want to definitely tell the truth in a situation like this. And then think about it like this. If we're thinking in terms of the Bible, we're talking about, what does neighbor mean? What does the word neighbor mean? You know what neighbor means? You know what neighbor mean? What does neighbor mean? Not necessarily. It could be. But when we're talking in terms of the Bible, I'm going to just say it. It means, it's talking about, there's more than one definition to that word neighbor. Yeah, they could be living next to you, but how about the children of Israel when they came out of the land of Egypt, when Moses delivered them out of the land of Egypt? They was all one big family that came from Jacob. So this word neighbor can mean your brother, your cousin, your sister, something like that, a close kinsman. All right, I know what they got here, they make it seem like just a next door neighbor, because that's the type of terminology, the words we use today. But no, it's talking more close of a relation than just somebody that lived next door to you. Okay. Last but not least, we have, you shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbor. What does the word covet mean? Right. Right. So you on the right path. So basically, yeah, it'll lead you. You're on the right path. You're on the right path. That's good. So basically, the word covet is lust, right? So when you lust after somebody's possessions and you don't check that lust and say, no, I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, I like it, but I'm not gonna. You go follow after my heart and go steal. Then you checking that spirit. But say if you don't check that spirit and you follow what's on your heart in regards to you liking somebody's possessions to the point where you want to take their possessions, well, you now breaking the commandment, because it's leading you to it's going to lead you to go and break other commandments. Like, coveting means lust. So it's what she's doing here is looking at her neighbor, her next door neighbor, or somebody that's in her neighborhood. She looking at their house, their car, their bike, and she like it. So now she starts to make a plan on how she's going to actually take their possessions. You see that? So that's where it becomes evil, because you know what happens? They'll, like we mentioned earlier, somebody try to rob you or somebody try to break into your house or something like that. That's what it's going to lead her to do, because she's not checking that spirit. You see that? So she's not checking that spirit. She break into their house. She want to take some things from them, and that's now you stealing, right? But then what if she break into the house and the person just happened to meet her and try to fight her? right? And then she ended up killing that person. Now it's led you to kill somebody. So coveting can lead you to break other laws and commandments. Okay? All right, so that's the 10 Commandments. And we're going to go ahead and go into today's lesson. Okay? Who is your neighbor? Who is your neighbor? Keep in mind what we just talked about in regards to the word neighbor. You need a Bible? You need a Bible? Here. Okay, that's all right. You can just listen. It's not nothing. It's not too long. So, what does the word neighbor mean? We just talked about it just a few minutes ago. What does the word neighbor mean?
Neighbor, in the Bible, Israelite, they were together as a family.
Yeah. So it means like family, right? The word neighbor means like family. Okay. Let's see. But like I said, it also, like I said earlier, it also can mean, a friend. It can mean your brother. It can be a lover. It could be, your husband. You're talking about that word neighbor covers. It's a different. It's used as a. It's got more than one definition. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just secluded to mean only a friend or somebody that lives next door to you. It could mean that, but like I said earlier, it usually means family, because Israel came out as a family. They came out as a nation, yeah, but who did they come from? So they came from the same loins, right? Because Jacob had the 12, he had the 12 sons. His 12 sons, all of them they became tribes of people, families within Egypt. Okay? All right? And so let's see. Let's go to, let's see what Mashiach was saying about family. Who is my family, right? Let's go to Matthew 12 and 46. Matthew 12 and verse 46. Let me know when you get there. I have another one up here. You want to use this one? Okay.
Got it.
You got it? All right. This is Matthew 12 verse 46. While he yet talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him. All right, this is Mashiach. He's talking to the people and teaching them, right? And his mother and his two brothers, his mother he came out of, right? And his two brothers, leave it down there. His mother and his two brothers, desire to speak with him, right? Verse 47, then one said unto him, behold, your mother and your brethren stand without, desiring to speak with thee. But he answered and said unto him that told him, who is my mother and who are my brethren? Who is my mother and who are my brethren? So he's not even acknowledging them as his mother and it's not that he's not acknowledging them, but he's like, this question would, cause somebody to be amazed, like, what do you mean, who are your mother and who are your brethren? All right, your mother is right over there. She's the one calling you from out of the crowd of the people, right? Verse 49, and he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, behold, my mother and my brethren, right? So he stretched his hand toward his disciples, right? Now, why would he do something like that? Necessarily. Let's see why he do that. So verse 49 again, it says, and he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, behold, my mother and my brethren, for whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother. So the key is those people have to be doing the will of the Father. Now, in many, many cases, you will have a whole family like here. Whole family is believers, right? You have a whole family that's believers. And so, yeah, they're biological family, meaning they came out of the same loins, but they are family because they all believe on the Most High. And they put forth the effort to serve him, day by day. And that's key, all right? And you got to think like this, like those are the people that is going to be, they serving them day by day, meaning they're going to treat you like family once you come amongst them and once they prove you and once they can try you. So these is people that you can lean on, even though y'all didn't come from the same family. But because it's about the laws of Yah that keep you bound together and not just saying, oh, well, blood is thicker than water. No. Listen, I have many, many instances where biological family, my family that I came out of the loins, I can't trust them. Okay? Now, that don't mean you won't be able to trust family. I'm just saying that you can't live by, oh, this is my family because we came out of the same loins. No, it's about what type of things you live by. Okay? Hey, we having a children's lesson, please. All right, so pay attention. Well, so we got to keep in mind that when we talk about family, we talking about people that, that's living by Yah's ways, right? And it's not necessarily, because they come out of the same people. No, because once Mashiach started his ministry, he was showing the disciples something. He was letting them know that, hey, this is going to happen with Gentiles. These type of people will be your family, but not based on their lineage, but based on how they carry themselves, right? All right, so let's go somewhere else. Let's go to Luke 10 and 25. What's up, Jaden? How you doing, man? You all right? Go to Luke 10, chapter 10 and verse 25. All right, this is Luke chapter 10 and verse 25. And behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tempted him, saying, Master, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? He said unto him, What is written in the law? How readest thou? All right, Mashiach is being asked, how can I inherit eternal life? And he's letting him know, well, how readest thou? What you got? Not yet. We do that at the end. All right, we do that at the end. Right now, we're in the middle of the children lesson, all right? All right, so what is written in the law? How readest thou? And he answering said, Thou shalt love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And he said unto him, Thou hast answered right. This do, and thou shalt live. But he, willing to justify himself, said unto Yeshua, And who is my neighbor? So he was willing to justify himself and say, who is my neighbor? So he's now asking, who is my neighbor, right? Remember we talked about that word neighbor? Who is my neighbor? And Yeshua answering said, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, which stripped him of his raiment and wounded him and departed, and leaving him half dead. So Mashiach, he's now given an example of what a neighbor is. So listen up, watch this. So he's talking about a man that got robbed by some thieves and got beat up, right? Verse 31. And by chance there came down a certain priest that way. All right, this is a priest. This is a man of Israel. Okay? And when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. And likewise, a Levite, when he was at the place, came and looked on him and passed by on the other side. Now, understand something. The Levites, first of all, shalom, the priests was supposed to be the most righteous of the whole entire Israel, right? They was the direct connection before Mashiach between the Most High and the people of Israel. And they made sacrifices for people of Israel and everything, right? This priest did not help this man. Okay, the Levites also was set apart to a degree under the priests to do, ministry in the temple. They did not help this man. I want y'all to pay attention to this. Verse 32, and likewise a Levite, when he was at the place, came and looked on him and passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion on him. Now the Samaritan is not a Israelite. Okay, the Samaritan Jews and Samaritans at this time did not get along, and the Samaritans was not Israelites. All right, these was people of another nation that was put there after the northern kingdom went into captivity. These were not Israelites at this time. Verse 34, and went to him and bound up his wounds. So he's taking care of the man that was beat up, right? And went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine, and set him on his own beast, and brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And on the morrow, when he departed, he took out 2 pence and gave them to the host, and said unto him, take care of him, and whatsoever thou spendest more, when I come again, I will repay thee. Which now of these 3, now he's asking, this is Mashiach asking the man who is that asks, who is my neighbor, right? Let's see what Mashiach say. Let's see this. Which now of these 3 thinkest thou was neighbor unto him that fell among the thieves? Now who acted as a neighbor? The Samaritan, right? The Samaritan acted as a neighbor. Why did he act as a neighbor to the man that fell among the thieves? It doesn't really say whether he wanted to be friends with the Most High, but of course possible. But here, the reason he acted as a neighbor, the reason he was considered a neighbor is because of what he did. He helped this man in a time where he was doing bad. Like the man that fell among the thieves got beat up, got all his clothes and his possessions took from him. And the Samaritan, who is not an Israelite, all right, helped him. You see that? So when he helped him, this is what Mashiach was saying will be your neighbor. Let me read that too, verse 37. And he said, he that showed mercy on him. Then said Yeshua unto him, go and do thou likewise. So he was telling the man that was asking to go and be like the Samaritan. All right, because again, the priest did not help the man that fell amongst the thieves, neither did the Levite. 2 people that were supposed to be righteous, they did not help him. But the Samaritans was not considered a righteous people. But it goes to show you, Mashiach was trying to give the people a mystery and say, hey, it's righteousness amongst them too, right? And so the Samaritan operated, he was righteous, all right? We got one more. So I want to ask you, what if your family member or your neighbor is worshiping another god? Is that considered your neighbor then? Not considered your neighbor, right? All right. Let's see what was supposed to happen to in ancient Israel, because we can't do this now, but I'm going to show you this, and then we're going to wrap it up, all right? Deuteronomy 13 and verse 6. Deuteronomy 13 and verse 6. All right, this is Deuteronomy 13 and verse 6. If your brother, the son of your mother, or your son, or your daughter, or the wife of your bosom, or thy friend, which is as thine own soul, entice thee secretly, saying, let us go and serve other gods, which thou hast not known, thou nor thy fathers, namely of the gods of the people which are round about you, nigh unto thee, or far off from thee, from the one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. So now what's going on is this is the reading of the law, and this is instructing the children of Israel, saying if your family member or anybody, your neighbor, because remember that word neighbor has more than one meaning, right? If your neighbor instructs you to go and serve another God, whether they far from Israel or near, all right? Verse 8, thou shalt not consent unto him, nor hearken unto him, neither shall thine eye pity him. So your eye should not pity that man that's want to serve another God. Neither shalt thou spare, neither shalt thou conceal him. So don't even hide him. Make him known to the people of Israel that he want to go serve another God. Let's see what happens to him. And thou shalt stone him with stones that he die. Thou shalt stone him with stones that he die. Because he hath sought to thrust thee away from Yahuwah your Elohim, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. All right, so remember, the Most High is a jealous power. All right, and he don't want you serving nobody else because he put the effort in to deliver the children of Israel out of Egypt. Okay, hey, yo, my man, sit down. Sit down. All right, so, yeah. So now they don't want you to worship another God, okay? So the Most High don't want you to worship another God. So in other words, he's telling the people of Israel, if this person come to you, even if it's your family, all right? So example, if I was to come to you and try to lure you, and we all family, we all came out of the same mother and father, you do not spare me. You let people know, like, hey, he want to serve another God. All right, he want to serve another God. You don't keep that quiet, and if you keep that quiet, it'll be consequences for you too. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're not supposed to keep that quiet. You're supposed to let the people know. All right. So that's the end of that. Do we have any questions? I know you just came in. We went over the 10 Commandments, and we went over the title today was Who is Your Neighbor? Who is your neighbor? Right? So, so we got our hallelujahs, okay? All right, I know it's a few of us in here. Okay, go ahead and count. We don't got no mic today. You got to be loud. Come on, count.
1, 2, 3. Hallelujah!
Okay, we can give another one. Let's go. Come on, we got 2 more.
1, 2, 3.
Hold on. You got to do it better than that, man. You gonna count? You got to count. 1, 2, 3. All right, go ahead.
1, 2, 3. Hallelujah!
Okay, better. Come on, let's get a real good one. Come on. I know it's just a few of us in here. Come on.
1.
No. Count loud. 1, 2. I'm gonna keep stopping you until you do it.
1, 2.
Do it again. Come on. You can be mad.
1,
Do it again. I will
2,
take
3.
you.
Hallelujah!
All right.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. All right.
There's only 2 of them.
Yeah. All right. Shabbat shalom. We'll be starting up with the main lesson. Before that, we'll be going into praise and. Will we be doing praise and worship, Elder? We're doing praise and worship, right? Huh? Yeah. We'll be doing praise and worship and the main lesson. All right. Shalom.